Okay, we're just in this situation now where the boat's starting to get a little bit overpowered. So just want to show you a quick thing. With these marine systems, with any kind of system, there's going to be a functionality somewhere which says something like response level or gain. So if I select that, at the moment it's on cruising, you see. I need to put that up to performance, and that's going to narrow the window that the boat drives down, the avenue the boat drives down. So it'll keep it within 3 or 4 degrees of the course, which means it's much less likely to get to an angle where the mainsail can push it off course. That's going to keep us going for a little while. But the thing I'm noticing with this boat now, see these veers off, see it's veering over to port now. It's powering up. The tiller should be taking control of it now. But the bow of the boat is very heavy with gear. The boat's been taken down to the Caribbean, raced, and now we're on our way back up north with all of the extra gear in the bow. We need to reef the mainsail because there's too much pressure at the top of the main. It's digging the bow in. It starts to steer the bow up to windward. So I'm going to throw a reef in. I'm going to get the boat a bit more under control. Then I'll be able to take the autopilot back off the performance setting, which is actually eating a lot of battery power just at the time where we've got an issue with the solar cells, and then we'll do the washing up.
Well, the reef no doubt got put in. This is a little while later on. Some really nice flat seas on this voyage, giving us the opportunity to use the back step as a little service area. Obviously I'm not normally down here if the boat's going quickly. Getting the washing up done here, and it's kind of disgusting, but I wanted to highlight like those little kind of sanitary towel type things which come with the meat. You got to clean those completely out and make sure that they are not in your garbage, because if you start getting flies on board, they will find that stuff. Okay, well, what we got going on here, I'm getting out the lines for the mast rotators. This boat has got a rotating wing mast. You can see the line goes up to the boom, and then it's attached to the boom and to that brace on the mast. Similarly on the other side, the mast is sitting on basically a tow ball hitch, like a Reese hitch, and it's rigging at up the top with the cap shrouds and the shrouds. They've got like hinges on them, which allows everything to move a little bit, and means that you can move the shape of the mast, the chord length of the mast foil section, into line with the incoming wind, and that makes the sail way more efficient. So you don't get that eddying exhaust behind the mast which you get with a classic rig. You just pull on one side and the brace pulls itself towards the boom, and you can angle it into the wind. It also makes reefing in heavy weather downwind much easier, but you do have to be careful because it has windage on that sail, on that wing mast, and it's like a sail, and if you are expecting to slow down when you pull the sails down, you might not.
Okay, we got a bit of an issue. You can see here that my port solar cells are not putting out any output. There's voltage, 14 volts of voltage being detected, but there's no output. So there's some poor connection there. You see that they'd had an issue, and then yesterday we got them going. We got 320 watt hours of input yesterday, but suddenly there's no connection now. This having the ability to see what's coming from the different cells is absolutely phenomenal. The numbers that we should be looking at is something like this, which is for starboard side. So we got 70 odd. We've got how much there? 8 amps going into the batteries, which is absolutely required as we're down at 12.5 at the moment, right? We've got 112 watts coming in from one side. We should have the same from the other, and we've not got it. So I'm going to go out on the port armor and see how that's going to go. So trusty deck assist belt here and a voltage meter. Let's see if we can work out what the problem is.
Oh, okay. I suppose I'm expected to do a narration again. Right, well, here we go. Looking a little bit burnt about the legs. Spent a little bit too much time out on the side of the boat trying to work out this issue with these solar cells. Obviously you're getting kind of snatches of what's going on as I'm trying to work through the problem, but it's very intermittent and on, off, and I've started to get the idea that it's none of the major connections. They're all now very securely made, that it's something to do with the actual molded in connections that we see there boxed up on the edge of each solar cell. So we're going to have to go in there. Now that is not a user serviceable area. All that should be in there is completely sealed off connections. So I haven't gone into it because once you've opened it, they're very difficult to seal back up again. Always tricky working with tools out on the edge of the boat. Should it be on a string around your neck? Maybe. I think.
Attention on that. Jib sheet.
Jib sheet, absolutely, yeah. Well, this is weird. I'm commenting on what I'm commenting on, but yeah, that jib does look awful. But yeah, if you you can get yourself so wrapped up in having everything connected to you that you can end up like you can't get on with the job properly. So careful about where you put things down.
First we've got to work out which panel
here we go.
is working, which one's not. These caps have been off previously for a different repair. I noticed that the other day.
You're pooched, buddy.
Moisture in here, the seals are not sealing properly. We've got these little
It's all burnt away underneath.
Which tell us that
oh yes indeed.
there's corrosion going on underneath this silicone seal.
You can't fix that.
Damn. And those kind of contacts burn through. It's the end of the day. It's the end of the day anyway for these guys. Now this armour is out the water all the time at the moment, so I think it's time to...
What I mean by that is that the connections there are not getting wet. So if I can dry them out, I can test and see, can I get good connection? And if they get wet, does that connection get lost? I.e. prove that this is where the issue is. Because if it is, I can't fix it. Everything, as I was joking, is eaten away.
Can burn off the extra moisture.
Right. Just get the cap open, maybe get some acetone in there, try and sluice out all the water, and then get dielectric grease and see if you can make something that holds together till you get there. Uh-oh.
Here we go, of course. Big gust. Alright, we got the washing up done and tied up in here, so we're looking pretty good in here now. Okay, well, the other thing I'm doing right now is getting the tools cleaned up. It's so hard to keep tools from getting rusty on a boat. Like, this environment here is saturated with salt and water the entire time, so what I prefer to do is have them in something like this, a waterproof bag. That's not the situation here. They're in a bag like this, and this is just asking for moisture. So I got myself some Starbright Rust Eater when I was in the marina, and just sprayed it onto this lot and just slowly flipping them over and slowly burn away the rust that's on them, and then give it all washed down at the end, and then the bag and those things, and I'll get lana coat and coat the tools as best I can. It's the only way that I know of keeping them from getting rusty. Without the tools, we've got a real problem out here. The other good thing is that we're looking at some nice healthy voltage here. And you see in here, there's those MPPTs, the solar charge controllers. See, they're both blinking away now as they put bulk charge in. Earlier on, only one of them was doing that. And the irritating thing of it was that in the morning, the starboard side, picking up that sun coming up in the east, the starboard side of the boat was charging, and then in the afternoon, as that solar cell set went into darkness, now we've got some charging going on, which also means I've got my refrigerator on, which means I've got nice cold milk for cereal in the morning, and my meat is not going off, which is very important. Also, the autopilot is not under any threat of running out of power. We have fixed the autopilot, the refrigerator is working, like things are going pretty good here. Also found my glasses, which as you get a little bit older becomes quite important. So you can hear that. Oh, if you're wondering why the toilet roll's in there, there has to be one place on the boat where something like this is kept dry, so we can arrive in a noble state. Inside the electrical cabinet, it's only 12 volt in there. There's no mains voltage, so I don't mind having it in there. It acts as a bit of a catch-all for moisture. If it starts to get damp, I know there's issues in there. So although it's hot and uncomfortable, we have got all of the washing done. We've got the tools cleaned up. We've got the solar cells working. I think it's time for a cup of tea. did this yesterday. I thought, you know what, there's not very much movement here. So I've put out a line and a fender, and that means for once I'm actually going to go in the water, which I very rarely do off boats. This boat's set up for it because of course it's got a nice step going down the back here. It's very easy to get on and off, and most of the time when I'm on race boats, I am, you know, it's like 6 feet up to the tow rail of the boat. So I'm gonna go for a swim. Wasn't feeling fantastically good actually after that nap, so I had a lot of coffee and kind of cleared myself out, which I'm feeling much better now. So I think a nice little cool down. The water on the back of this boat, there's 250 litres in the back of this boat inside here from what I can estimate. It's been cleaned out, it's been bleached out, it's everything else, but it's taken on that kind of tanky taste, and I've actually got enough water easily to get to Bermuda in jugs, so it means I can have a nice shower, which is what's going on here at the back of the boat. So I'm going to go in and have a bit of a swim, which if you're into cruising, this is like, yeah, this is what we always do. For me, never. Like I can think of 3 times in the last 13 or 14 years that I've been in the water off the back of a boat at sea, like, you know, things. So I'm gonna do what I can with the camera here and give you an idea of what it looks like from the edge of the boat. The line here gives me a really good idea of the speed that the boat's moving, and I think that's very, very important if you're thinking of doing something like this. I've also got my deck assist belt on, which would be a nightmare to be dragged by, let's be honest. I would not get in the water in this fashion if I actually thought there's any chance of getting dragged. I'd get my back tow life jacket there from Team O and put that on if I thought I was going to be dragged. I don't think I'm going to be dragged. But it's connected to a long line here, so let's go in the water, see what it's all about. I'll do a little bit more. Oh. That feels pretty good. I can certainly feel a little bit of pull on the line. I'm just moving myself down these you see the green line feeding out. I'm getting hold of the next alpine butterfly before I move myself down it. If we get a bit further away from the boat, you can't see how much slime's on the bottom. You won't believe I cleaned that a month ago. Yeah, a bit of a pull on the line there. Woo! I'm just side stroking around here. Woo! Pull from the boat. A big reminder how a boat that's just going at no speed at all is going faster than you can swim. This is the stuff of nightmares for solo sailors. The boat being this far away from me and unable to get back on board. Whew. Okay, I think that's far enough. Remember, I'm attached to the boat by my deck assist belt. I'm physically holding on to the line here, and I've got that green line on me. I think that's good enough for me. Let's have a look underwater. I'm going to start moving myself closer to the boat now. And even when I disconnect my deck assist belt from the white line, I'm still tied into it, the green line, so I can't get disconnected from the boat. Do you need all these precautions? Well, you've only got to make the mistake once, haven't you? You only got to be out here for what, a night? And you're dead. I can remember getting into a situation, delivering a boat from Singapore, no, from Hong Kong to Singapore about 10 years ago, and we went over a fishing net, and It was all wrapped around the keel. Conditions were like this. So it was night time, but I've done a lot of utility diving, shall we say. Lots of fixing things underwater in very low vis conditions, nighttime, all sorts of stuff. So I took the decision, because of the experience of the crew on board, that I could jump in, get this thing disentangled from the boat before it got wrapped around the propeller and rudder. And we could see what it was because there's so much phosphorescence that was being lit up pretty clearly, right? This massive shimmering haze of like fairy dust underneath the boat. So I tell the guys, do not start the engine. Get blue tape and blue tape across the key, blue tape across the gear shift. So there's no chance that someone's going to make that mistake. And we've got the sails up because we're in a hove to position. No breeze, just like this. Jump in, get under the boat very easily, no problem at all. It's night time, it's nice and warm like this. And then I find the net with all this phosphorescence blasting off it, blasting past my mask, just shimmering away. We're not moving, but it's finding its way to the surface. It's getting aerated by the action of this fishing net underwater. And then the boat starts moving. And it probably wasn't moving much more than 3 or 4 knots. Maybe not even that. Maybe let's say 2 knots to be realistic. I just held on to that fishing net, and I'm underwater in the dark with all this light blasting past me. I can hear all this running around on the deck of the boat as they get the sails down. Brrr, down comes the mainsail. Jung, 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 jung. Away goes the jib. It wasn't scary. It was interesting. This isn't scary. It's interesting. You know what? We've got a little boy now, Isaac. He's about 16 months now, 16 months old. Just about walking. Tried out a few words. I tidied the boats up before I came in here, because if something happened, I was lost. I wouldn't want them to think that I'd made any choice to go off the back, right? You have to clip on when you're on a boat. Like, imagine being here, you just gone underwater, and that's the first thing you see, the back of the boat. You've probably done this 1,000 times. I'm not a very experienced cruising guy. It's probably a zero risk situation, but one mistake, huh? One mistake. All right, let's get back on board. Don't get oh man, look at this weed on the bottom of this thing. Let's not get scraped by barnacles. Had that experience as well. Hello? I think oh, look at that. I even got myself organised. The ubiquitous Irish Spring, found everywhere in the Caribbean. All right, I'm going to enjoy a little bit of a wash down. We'll see what's for dinner.
And here we are once again, called in to fill in the gaps in the storytelling. Delicious, delicious pineapple rings. Always good to cook with fruit. It really surprises people, even if you're the only person on board. Looks pretty good. What am I here for? This is obvious. Aha, okay. So one thing that I do all the time on boats is I leave the cooking pots on the floor, the lowest point. Yes, the place where they want to be. Just put them there when you're not doing anything with them. Worst they can do is scuttle around, which is why you put a little bit of tissue, wet tissue on it like that so it doesn't move. And again, back down low. You know, if you get flipped completely over in a monohull, it's still a problem, but it was always going to be a problem. But most other situations, it's completely fine. Oh, isn't he happy? Just listening to his doo-wop. Right, well that's the end of another one of these. If you'd like to like and subscribe, that really helps the channel out. And if you go over to patreon.com/The Mariner, there's more content there. Of course, we have the Mariner podcast, which has been a bit of a hiatus, but it's back now. And the Mariner's Library, the podcast, which lets you listen to all these fantastic old sailing books. But until the next one, stay safe out there.